Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drinking Info Review and the final info review for 2024. And you know what that means? That means I'm going to announce my whiskey experience of the year along with a couple other goodies. Welcome. I'm very happy to be here, and if you're joining me live, say hey. It's kind of a festive time here as we're pulling into the end of the year. I had a good Christmas. Despite some other, if you've been paying attention to my personal page, some other trials and tribulations. Is that how it's said? But everything's good here. A very busy week, very busy month, lots of gigs, a lot of fun. And it was also nice to kind of play some gigs with some people that some usual suspects and friends, and commiserate and play some great music with. So it's been a nice, fun time. Spending some time with family and all that good stuff. So, in other years, I have posted a longer form video for this, where I talk about the year in review. I've also done it where I did it, I filmed it ahead of time and recorded it and then edited it. Last year was an example of that. Put it on YouTube and then put it up here. But it's been a very busy holiday time, and I guess kind of figured I'd just come out and do it live, and we'll do it live. We had a lot of fun times this year. We got to go and do some remote ones from my sister and brother-in-law's house. Had some broken glass. That was a lot of good experiences here. This year has been kind of a little bit low in terms of the new whiskey acquisitions, so didn't have a lot to review. We were just kind of downsizing a little bit, changing some things. There were some different just shifts. We moved, and yeah, so it felt like we were focusing on some other things, but we still got some great whiskey along the way, and went to a few places that really well. Like I said, we did experience some new stuff. Didn't buy everything in sight, and I think we're better for us, because I think we are going with this quality over quantity concept. We also had, for the first time, a whole featured month in September. With my September bourbon month, my bourbon scores timber bourbonanza. Finally get it right. And although that was a whole lot of fun, it kind of left me with some whiskey blight for or bourbon blight for the next month. So I've had a few bourbons since, but it's definitely been something that was kind of like, what, that was a lot of bourbon. I think I'm going to hold off a little bit with bourbon. So we picked up in other ways. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. I'm going to announce my whiskey experience of the year. As you know, if you've been following along here, I'm not telling you this is the best whiskey to buy. We're not rating things, and I never really understand that concept, because, first off, it's not like a new car, or like a new, the 2025 models are already out, or whatever was the best, or the best song even. Whiskeys can be around a long time, and then to have these ratings that pop up, unless it's new whiskeys, it's a little weird to me. A lot of magazines do that, where they're doing mostly new whiskeys. Again, they could be 27-year-old, but if they're just kind of released at a certain time, then it is new. So it's always been, for us, new to us. Okay, I'll make one little exception there, though. The other thing that we've been kind of dealing with here is, it already had started about a year or two, but post-COVID, we saw some in the Scotch whiskey area, especially, and a little bit in Irish. We see some of the bigger companies and bigger parent companies jacking up the prices to make their stuff more exclusive. That has failed miserably for the most part, and most of the companies have returned their prices down to a more commensurate with what they were listing before. However, now we are already seeing between that kind of stuff and then the pending possible tariffs by our upcoming president. Like I said, I don't think they're actually going to happen. I think it was all just another threat to get him in office. I won't make this political. I have another political post up talking about Brown-Forman and why I won't talk about them again. But anyway, I think because of that, we are already seeing some price jumps. So that's what I'm going to bring you a third bottle here. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in reverse order, and I'm going to tell you about my again, this is all about experience. It's not what I'm voting for, but Yes, this is the best one. You got to go out and get it. This is just me. I had one fascinating experience, or I had many good experiences during that September bourbon month. I found some bourbons that I had kind of put in the back of the shelf and hadn't touched for a while, and all of a sudden realized, oh, these are really good. I need to come back to it. And then I bought a couple of new ones. Most of them were on the lower side of the price tag, just to kind of see and get a handle of what was out there. And I had one really big surprise. If you know, here in the bourbon country, I have two kind of punching bags. One is Larceny bourbon. Okay, I have three actually. One is Larceny bourbon. I think I had gotten that first, the first expression. Wasn't really blown away by it, but it was very popular because it had a lot of backing. And I know they've put out some calf strength and some other types and people like it, and it's probably better now that it's got a couple more years. So that's one, and I'm probably kind of relenting on that one. The second one will always be Basil Hayden, because again, I just saw it in a bar last night and it was up on the top shelf. It is very nicely and cool looking packaging, but it's 40 ABV and it's right up there in the price tag with things that are, I would say, 6%, 7%, 8% higher ABV, and maybe 20%, 30% better. So that's my third. And my third punching bag has always been Evan Williams. I'm not a big fan of Evan Williams. I never have liked the regular standard Evan Williams bottling. And it was kind of a joke. One of my friends used to drink it a lot, and I used to always laugh because it just tasted like, it just didn't taste very good to me. And it put every bit of its bottom of the shelf flavors forward. Never really dug it. And then when I was buying some of these budget bourbons like Benchmark and a couple, I happened upon Evan Williams 1783 small batch. The story on this is a small batch. This is pooled from 200 barrels, okay, from less than 200 barrels. That makes it a small batch. So instead of pouring this all into a vat, huge tank, and blending all their stuff together, they're keeping these barrels separate, and then they're blending a smaller batch together of 200 barrels. All right, we'll see if that makes any sense. It's extra aged and uses the same sour mash process and traditional recipe made popular by our namesake. So it's all cool. This was the American Hero bottling. It's bottled at 45%. And then I had a taste. Wait, make sure I'm tasting the right one here. Yes. Sweet bourbon, obviously, but there's a kind of a minty evergreen scent in here as well. A little bit of earthiness. Nice level of char in there. And what this added element has been made, or that this added element of just, I guess, this certain pick, a little bit more aging. Don't know if there's anything else, and it's a little higher ABV. The vanilla stuff is there on the nose. Sweet corn, but I'm also getting corn husk and some darker flavors. Some cask, maybe some cask char in there. Really nice. Has that flinty kind of oak cask, almost like, pencil in a good way, which means you're getting some kind of wood, almost that cedar note that comes through. It's not a thick mouthfeel, but the finish is nice enough. At the end, you know what you're drinking, a bourbon that has a relatively high corn content in its mash bill. So I'm going to say, for my money, Evan Williams 1783 is my value whiskey of the year. Yes, this knocks out the ever-present Wild Turkey 101. But, it's nice to name something new. And like I said, this is my experience this year. I never had this before. And I'm saying, if you can pick this up, this is MSRP at $25, and it's almost always on sale right now. I think it's on sale for $22. If you're looking for a good whiskey that just brings a little bit more, and it's a little bit more complex than your just normal corn blast that you get from Evan Williams regular or some of these other ones. Recommend this one. I just tasted the wrong one, but yeah. Very good. All right. How you doing, Michelle?
Okay.
I have the old 71883. I dig it a lot. Value whiskey of the year. All right. Nothing to write home about, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to do this out of order, and what we're going to do next is talk about my whiskey experience of the year. Now, we had some other good contenders that I brought up. I would say that the new edition, the elevation of 10 to 12-year-old by Glenmorangie of their original, could be considered as something. What's wrong? Okay. Oh, I thought you didn't like the whiskey. That was very nice. Another contender, and it's a little bit far away, but you know what? I'll get it. Was the Lagavulin Nick Offerman edition, 11-year Caribbean rum cask. Okay. We like this one a whole lot. In terms of peated elements, this is nice. We like this. Not going to win whiskey of the year. It might have been the new Scotch whiskey of the year we bought, but it's a little bit fruity. And if you're a Lagavulin fan, it really leans more towards their 8-year more than their classic 16. Right? The 16 versus the 8. I'm looking at them right here. So it was a nice little pick. What else did we get that we were kind of digging? Uncle Nearest, the company that makes this wonderful Tennessee whiskey, also released a rye, a very high rye, which we liked a whole lot. But no surprise here. I after the bourbon blight that I got from September, really was kind of focusing in, and it's probably not going to be a bourbon because, like I said, we didn't get that many new bourbons that blew us away. In the last year, I've told you many, many times about this distillery, and you know what? Why not? Since we're kind of everything is a little bit off kilter this 2024. Let's go with a kind of a shocker. We are going to, and I think Michelle agrees on this. Okay, we are going to name Whiskey Acres, yes, the pride of DeKalb, Northern Illinois University, Whiskey Acres cask finish series, finished in Tokai casks by Binny's. This is a Binny's handpicked as my and Michelle's whiskey experience of the year. I think we both agreed on this. Yes, Michelle? Mm-hmm. Okay. What are we talking about here? So this is a rye, okay, that has been finished in Tokai barrels. Now, I've told you many times about Whiskey Acres. Here's the hat. Okay, this is a young distillery that is grain to glass all the way. It's primarily a farm out there in DeKalb, a little bit south of Northern Illinois University, just on the other side of the highway, and they are doing great stuff. I've talked about this forever. I just have this love for their whiskey because it all has this really nice yeasty element to all of it. It tastes very bready. It's not overly sweet. And like I said, they grow everything there and they distill everything there. And the only thing that's not produced there from this entire bottle is only the barrels that they age it in. Okay, they're not a cooperage. Other than that, they're doing everything. I remember talking to I don't know, one of the presidents or the vice president or whatever, kind of the most visible person, and he was telling me about this rye that they grow. When they first started, and if I get this wrong, I would like to be corrected. And if anyone for Whiskey Acres happens to be listening, please correct us and say hey, because I've given you guys a lot of shout-outs. But if we remember, they started with bourbons. And they were obviously growing corn out there, and they did their thing, and they did their bourbon. Everyone was real happy. Wonderful. Tastes great. It was always winning awards. They put out a straight and a bottled and bond version. All right? Wait, is that right? I'm using the train of thought now. That's big. I thought I had those all up, but yeah, straight and then bottled and bond. Then when they started doing this rye, apparently the rye that they were growing there and what grows in this state wasn't really making it, cutting it for whiskey production. So they did some consulting, and they decided that the seed from this rye from Canada would be the best seed to use to produce their rye. So they didn't buy rye and have it shipped in. They bought seed and then grew it on the farm. And I guess this is a little hardier, works better in these climates. If you've been in, DeKalb, Illinois, I know that I have sometimes driving out to play at Otto's and driving back home at 1 o'clock in the morning. It gets pretty cold. The temps are very, very diverse in DeKalb, Illinois, right? The temps are more diverse than the people. No, that's not right. It's like I said, they did this, and then it turns out their rye started winning awards, and they've probably won more awards for their rye than their bourbon, which is great. We like their straight rye very much, right? So this one I didn't really know about. I really just kind of read about it once, and then I saw it popping up at Binny's, okay, our local big store. And I thought about it, and I was looking around, and I was like, wow, this does look interesting. I read a couple of reviews, and everyone really loved it. Okay, so this is their rye, finished in what I read was to be some amount of months, maybe 10 months, maybe 20 months. I'm not quite sure, in this Tokai cask. So what is a Tokai cask? There's something about Boomerang. I don't know if it's a company that does blending or what, but let's talk about a Tokai cask. Tokai is so you could kind of Tokai. There's different pronunciations. I will get all of them wrong, so I'm not going to say them. This is an area in Hungary and adjoining Slovakia that produces this one type of wine. I'm not going to go into it. You can look it up. I'm told that it's very, very delicious, slightly sweet, but not sweet in a different way. This is, from what I'm reading, when I read about this, the reason that gives us this kind of little pungency is that this is one of the wines that benefits from what's called the noble rot. Now, I am way over my skis, okay, or my Hungaries. What? When I'm talking about this, but essentially it's this thing that's this fungus that, if stopped at the right time with some certain weather conditions, it makes this, it enhances the production of these grapes. I have no idea what I'm talking about here. Doing a little bit of reading and just talking to one person. That would be the Dean of Allocations, who should be talking about wine, not me. But all I know is that's what they used. There are some other, the Tale of Cake by Glenmorangie, which was one of their first tale expressions. Also was aged in Tokai barrels, and this has served Whiskey Acres really well. Funny thing of note, I've looked on pictures, and I've looked on this barrel, and I've looked at the couple that are remaining, and it's actually really funny. It's kind of like a baseball card with a misprint, like Bill Bruckner or Andrew Dawson or something like that. You get one of those, and you're really... Tokai is spelled wrong on this label. Let me see if I can get that to focus in. It says Tojaki. So I looked up Tojaki. There is nothing called Tojaki in the world of wine or anything else. Okay, Tojaki. So it's spelled wrong on the label, but that doesn't mean that this isn't delicious whiskey. On the nose, a lot of caramel, sweet, surprisingly sweet for being a rye. Lots of herbal essence and minty. A little bit of figs on the taste. This is where it explodes. Dark chocolate. Oh, this is so good. Tamla, you want a little sip just to see if we're... Raisins, dates, figs. So much goodness here. And then there's this, as it goes into the finish, there is this, some people will say this about rye, but this is like an herbal tea. That's all I can say. And see if Michelle agrees here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep.
It's still good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Worthy of Whiskey Experience of the Year?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is just a fine. We're being very, very, cautious, not drinking too much of this. Beautiful presentation. I would guess that this was originally aged for 4 to 5 years, and then there's additional aging in Tokai casks. This is the perfect example of, like, sometimes we get these finished things and it's just barely there, and then sometimes it's overpowering, right? This is right on the edge of being overpowering, but it's the perfect edge to me. So I'm going to name Whiskey Acres Cask Finish Series in Tokai casks, also bottled at 58.35%, my whiskey experience of the year. Here's the good news about this stuff. I don't know if you're going to find it. Might have to search for it a little bit, but I've seen it in multiple shelves in different binnies across the land. I was going to say I've seen it in many different places. It shouldn't be too hard to find. If you look this, you could actually look this up. Look Whiskey Acres up for binnies if you want to buy it from binnies, and it'll pop up and it can tell you which stores they're at. I know there's a couple. I might buy another one. Depends how good. You know what? I had a really good December in terms of gigs, but I'm actually off on New Year's for the first time in a very long time. Michelle isn't, so maybe I'll pick up a gig in New Year's. If I pick up a gig for New Year's Eve, Michelle's working. I'm gonna, if I do pick one up, then I may grab another one of these. But I think you should grab one too. Good news is this has been on sale, about $10 off on the Binny's website. I'm not doing a shilling for Binny's. You can find this elsewhere. Maybe it's still available at the distillery. I don't know, but it is just really, really good. Again, this was handpicked by distilleries. Right now, this is $60 whiskey. That's pretty good, right, Michelle? Normally it's $70 for a limited edition. High proof. I'm not going to say it's a value, but it's definitely great. If you are out and you like big, bold rye flavors, you're not mixing this with anything. This is a straight, neat blast of fruits and a little bit of chocolate and herbal tea. That's all I can say. It's beautiful. Can't say enough about this. It's so good. There it is. Whiskey Acres Cask Finished Series in Tokai casks, or as they spell it, Tojaki casks. By any name, Tojaki, Tokai, I don't care. I don't care. It's really delicious. That's it. I'm going to wrap this up with just one more thing. Now, I've talked about this stuff, and I've talked about the price increases over the last couple of, really years, but post-COVID, the whiskey pricing has gone off. We've got this thing into vanity whiskeys, and companies like Macallan and Lagavulin and some others, Oban, Talisker, have just raised their prices up, then come down. We're seeing about a 15% increase in all whiskeys. And it was funny, I was checking around, and one of my favorite reviewers, you might have known him, I've posted some articles from him, Ralphie, from the Isle of Man. Okay, he was from Scotland, but he did his whiskey of the year. He's kind of one of the maybe top 5, and really I can't name others, top 3 influencers and YouTube videos. He's got thousands of videos on reviewing whiskey. He knows what he's talking about. He kind of punted this year, in my opinion, and he named the very good but very basic Aaron 10, which I got back there in the old packaging, as his whiskey of the year, because of its natural presentation, because of all its good stuff. All right, I'm going to say that that's very cool, but I checked, and Aaron 10 right now has been jacked up to about $70. Oh, look at this. I get snacks. How do you do it? That is the perfect thing to eat with these fine whiskeys. Except that I got to chew in camera and I got to crunch a little bit. I got to get another one of those. Not just a pretty face. Excellent singer and a wife that, love her. There's a reason I look like this. Actually, she eats healthier than anyone I know. I'm the one that like I'll eat what she gives me, and then later on I'm got my face buried in a bag of ho-hos. Ho-hos don't come in a bag. Anyway, I'm going to talk about one more thing. I wanted to give you a best bet. All right. So as you all know, this is a rarity for me. I've named an Irish whiskey as my whiskey of the year. Last year I did do a Scotch. So doing an American whiskey is a little bit rare. I can't remember if this is the first time, but that's a little rare. And quite frankly, it's very hard for me to kind of recommend. I have all of the 10 and 12s of single malt Scotch whiskey I want. I have a few of the 15 and 17s that I want. So these days, with all the prices going up, it's very hard for me to name anything that's kind of like the best bet. But then I was tooling around, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have a little bit of this, because another whiskey that I'm searching around for is the Bunnahabhain 12 Cask Strength. I think I missed out on that. If anybody sees that around, and it's not going to be at Binny's because it's gone, but if anybody sees Bunnahabhain, Bunnabhain, the 12-year cask strength at any store, let me know. All right, don't buy it for me, but let me know. And if you really are crazy, buy one for yourself and then let me know. I've been really looking for that, but I think I've missed out on that, the 23 edition of that. But then I was like, let me check something. And I checked probably the first whiskey that I ever researched. I know I've brought it up before. Bunnahabhain 12. Straight up, wonderful stuff. Natural color, unchill filtered, bottled at 46.3%. This was the first Scotch whiskey that I ever researched. It was probably the third or fourth that we ever bought. Maybe just the third. And this has got to be at least my third bottle. I've given it to other people. This will continue to be what I call the universal single malt Scotch whiskey. This is unpeated, but there is still an element of something. There is a smoky note on there, tingly. This is on the northeasternmost point of Islay, where all the other peated whiskeys come from. This is not peated. They do a peated, but this 12 has been a standard, and people love this stuff. This is in my top 5 whiskey of all time. 12 years, all natural, kind of high ABV. It's great. And I'm going to name it as my safest bet. Let me give a drink of this. On the nose, barley sugar, a little bit of actually this is going to be weird, kind of like a Smarties note, or if you ever had, what's the strawberry of the Count Chocula and blueberry? It's blueberry. What is the strawberry one? A little bit of that note, little nice earthiness, nice little zing, vanilla. This is what single malt Scotch whiskey is all about. A little bit of zing, no real fruitiness, but barley sugar, vanilla, lots of nice muted oak flavors. They just do it so well. Every time I have Bunnahabhain 12, I'm reminded why I'm doing all of this. Okay, it's like going back and playing some music after you get fired from a job. If you know, you know. You're like, oh yeah, this is why I do this. All right, this is great. So what I'm going to do to wrap this up and pull us in just under the half-an-hour mark is I'm going to name Bunnahabhain 12 as my best bet, because with all these other things going up and prices going up and we're getting our passports renewed so we might, if we ever have to leave all upheaval. Bunnahabhain 12 was $60 the first time I bought a bottle, and it is $60 right now at this very date. Okay, you are not going to buy a more universally loved whiskey for Bunnahabhain 12 than Bunnahabhain 12. If you're just a Speyside fan, you will love it. Okay, if you like something that's smoky, but you want to take a little break from that, this just has enough of an interest that you'll love it. I will. There are probably three whiskeys in the world that I would say are always going to be on my shelf. This has always been on my shelf, and it's going to be Bunnahabhain 12. So I'm going to name that as my best bet of the year. I'm not going to say it's whiskey experience of the year because I've had 3 or 4 bottles of it. But if you're going to go to the store and you want to buy something of value that is still not overpriced and has been jacked up, and you want to try single malt Scotch whiskey, Bunnahabhain, that's how you pronounce it, Bunnahabhain 12, Bunnahabhain 12. Is a great bet. And if anybody has ever had it before, please let everybody know in the comments that that I'm not speaking out of my my Bunnahabhain. My Buna or my Haven. All right, well, I'm having a good time. I'm Buna having a good time. I use that joke every time, or some variant of it, and it's never funny. Whiskey Acres, Cask Finish Series, in Tokai casks. You can't get hold of this. Whiskey Acres has a whole lot to offer. They have wonderful ryes. They have some nice bourbons. And if you're looking to something very, very interesting, I would recommend, if you can't find this from Whiskey Acres prior to Cal, get the popcorn bourbon. It's very, very tasty. If you want to get bourbon and not rye. And then their 7-year-old bourbon was really was a contender for Whiskey of the Year last year. So I'm happy to give them a Whiskey Experience of the Year this year. That's cool. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Like I said, I don't know what's going to be in store for us for New Year. I am looking to change things up a little bit. I might start talking to some other people. And I have a little more time on my hands, so I might start, I don't know, getting out and about and maybe talking to a few people that are in the business, and we can get a little bit of interest going here. Always like to do that. Thanks for hanging out with me, and look forward to some more good stuff. Yeah, one more thing. Be nice to your servers and stuff, like the bartenders, but also keep this in mind. It's funny. There's a lot of places around town, around everywhere that fancy themselves not only good bars but whiskey places too. And yesterday I was at a place. I was actually playing a gig, so I'm not going to say where it was, and they'll give you a freebie, and they denied me getting the freebie Eagle Rare 10. Okay, that's all right. If you consider that top shelf, that's cool. I mean, I know what the MSRP is, and I've never told anybody that I'm somewhat of a whiskey knowledgeable person. But then they offered me what they could offer me, which was a bullet, and maybe, I don't know what, maybe Evan Williams. I don't even know. And I was like, all right, fine. And I always, when I'm getting a freebie, I always tip that person $5. And I was handed this bottle in a glass that I could have cooked an egg in. All right, so people out there, if you are calling yourselves, or bars and venues, if you're saying you're a whiskey bar, like, don't wash the rocks glasses and then serve drinks 5 seconds after you get it out of your whatever you're cleaning in, autoclave, hot water, whatever. It was very embarrassing. Well, and then the problem is that the person that handed it to me didn't even know. So when you know, you know. All right, folks, I'm out of here. So, yeah. I'm going to get you an old school one. I'm not even going to say anything funny. Here you go. I may not be an expert in everything. I'm not even an expert at this, but I'm glad you give some of my time, your time, to watch me. I'll get this together. I meant it to be more poignant. I'm sorry. I don't have a master's degree. That's the problem.